Your objective for today is I can explain the relationships among characters. I can explain the influences of setting on plot. So today you have two activities to complete. One is a comparison paragraph on Cami, and the second is to create a quest in eSpark. So today we're going to be talking about story elements, and the story elements are the parts that make up a story. So we have character, setting, plots, and events. The story setting might have an effect on its plot. A story set on a tropical island might have events that arise because of intense heat or a dangerous storm. So those are things that would be specific to the island that might not happen in another place. We're going to be looking at comparing and contrasting characters, and that means that we're going to look at how they are alike and how they are different, and this is going to help us to better understand them. So we are going to be successful when we can identify how characters know each other and how they get along. We will explain how the setting affects the plot, and then write a comparison of the two characters. So as I look at this page in our book, how are the characters alike? Well, we're talking about George and Blaze, and I know that they're alike because when I reread page 190 to 193, I know that George and Blaze are both students, and they are pen pals. They also like similar things. How are they different? Well, from reading, I know that George is human and Blaze is a dragon. What do the illustrations show about how these characters think about each other? Well, as I'm looking at these pictures, I can see that when George is reading Blaze's letter and talking about parachuting, he is picturing himself jumping out of a plane, parachuting with a parachute on. And when Blaze is reading his letter about being a knight, I can see that Blaze is picturing him as a dragon with his knight costume on and fighting off things. So when they read each other's letters, George thinks Blaze is a human, and just like him, Blaze thinks George is a dragon just like him. The illustrations show what they think on one side, and then what is real on the other side. How is the setting different? Well, the setting is different because George lives in a city. You can see him sitting on a bench with his dog. And Blaze lives in a fantastic world with dragons, flying creatures, and light castles. On page 193, how does the author of the story use setting in the same way that the author of Dear Primo does? So if you remember in Dear Primo, Charlie and Carlitos are cousins that are writing to each other, and Carlitos lives in the desert while Charlie lives in a city. And so as I was thinking about this, I know that the setting shows where the two different characters live. So both of these stories have like two different settings. In our story for this week with the dragon, we know that George lives in the city and Blaze lives in some kind of fantasy world. So there were two different settings. Just like in Primo, Dear Primo, Charlie lives in a city and Carlitos lives in a on a farmland. So as I reread page 204 to 205, I'm kind of asking myself, how has sending the letters to the pen pals changed Blaze and George? And when I think about this question, and I'm talking about how characters change, I need to look at how they were in the beginning, and I need to look at how they are in the end. So when I'm writing my answer out, I want to say, in the beginning, George and Blaze both hate writing. They both say they will try writing, and they are nervous about writing to a stranger. Now, to show how they are different, in the end, how they've changed, I'm going to say, in the end, they both start to like writing to each other and want to continue writing. They call each other friends, and they want to meet. For your assignment today, you are going to be working in your book on page 216, and you're going to be answering this prompt. Dear Dragon tells the stories of two pen pals who exchange letters. Over the course of a year, the letters are unusual because they are written in rhyming poetry, and the pen pals are unusual because one of the writers is a dragon. You guys are going to be writing a paragraph that compares and contrasts the two pen pals, and you're going to be answering what do they have in common, in what ways are they different, and you're going to try to use some of those critical vocabulary words. So in your book, you're going to plan by making a list of the two characters and how they are alike, and then make a separate list of how they are different. After you have made your list in your book, you are going to go to the Canvas assignment, and you are going to actually write your paragraph there. So make sure that you begin with like an introduction to the topic. You're going to tell me how they are alike and differences, and then use some details from the text. After you complete that, you will be going to eSpark and completing a quest there.